Fulton Beer started out as a bunch of home brewers about 5 years ago. We started in my basement, moved to my one-car garage, and now still currently brew for production or for test purposes in my brother-in-law's two-car garage. We do that all in our neighborhood. We grew up in the area, and we currently all reside in the area. We like to think of ourselves as the village people of brewing because we have a carpenter, an attorney, a biologist, and a marketer, all keeping their day jobs while producing beer that we'd like to be able to produce here locally. We think that brewing is a great profession, but we also think there's more that we offer to the community than just beer. We developed what we call our Full 10 program. We take 10% of our proceeds and we offer those funds to other entrepreneurs in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and hopefully a regional market one day to do what they love, just like we're doing now with brewing. We currently brew our beer in Black River Falls, Wisconsin at a brewery named Sand Creek, and we'd love to be able to produce our beer here. One of the big limiting factors to that is the cost of a brewery. Brewing equipment is extremely expensive, upwards of $250,000 or more to get in the game. Then you need to find a building, whether you're going to rent or own. That's a significant cost incurred by the brewery, including employment, utilities, taxes, insurance. It becomes a very staggering amount to raise without even selling a bottle of beer of your product. This is where growlers come in, and this is where I urge you to consider the proposed amendments. Growlers have three significant benefits for a brewer. The first being revenue, the second being the building of a community and a following, and the third, engaging communities. First, a standard sale for a brewer is made in a half-barrel keg. There's approximately 1,984 ounces in that keg. Typically, brewers then sell that keg to a distributor for somewhere between $85 and $100 a keg. Assuming you sell it for $90, when you boil it out, it comes down to roughly 4.5 cents an ounce of beer. When you compare that to growler sales, at 64 ounces in our growler bottle, selling typically around $12, you're looking at a per ounce revenue of just under 19 cents. It's almost 4 times what a brewer would get for that keg. That allows significant opportunities for a small brewer and an upstart brewer to make a go at it.
And sir, if you might start getting close to wrapping up now.
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you.
The two other points I'd just like to make real briefly is that growlers build community. They're a refillable vessel. It draws people into the neighborhood the brewery's in. It establishes that relationship, so as that brewer grows, it has a strong following in the community. And on top of that, as people come to that community to purchase a growler, we also are revitalizing our neighborhoods that brewery is located. That individual may come in and stop for a cup of coffee at a coffee shop, make a reservation at a nearby restaurant, fill up with gas at a local gas station. I'd like to reiterate the importance of growler sales for a local brewer. Strongly urge you to consider the proposed amendments, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And if the next speaker could come up and introduce yourself, say your address, and then if you could try to maybe keep your comments to something new we haven't heard before. We've heard some really great comments in history and importance of business vitality here, so thank you.
Pardon me, I'll be brief. My name is Robert Kasich, 5324 Zenith. I am the owner of 612 Brew. I won't speak as eloquently as Jim, but I'll speak quickly. The advantages to a growler amendment are twofold. For one, as Jim mentioned, equipment's very expensive. Making a bottling line in a upstart brewery, very expensive. Growlers give an opportunity for consumers to come to the brewery and purchase the beer out of the growler rather than having to buy a 6-pack or 12-pack in the liquor store. It also gives consumers an opportunity to, who, like for myself, I have 2 kids, I don't get to the bars and restaurants very often, but if I wanted to go buy some of Jim's beer, I could go to his brewery and buy a container like this. So really it's benefiting both the consumer and the brewer to I guess, move more product.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have one more. Anyone else besides this last speaker? I think you're the last one. So
thanks. Jason Sowers, owner of Harry Brewing Company, and echoing what everybody else said, I won't do it. It was all valid. But I just want to say that I'm waiting to sign my lease until this law passes. If it doesn't, then I'm not going to sign my lease, and I'm going to look elsewhere. So that's how black and white it is for me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. So, anyone else here who would like to speak for or against this ordinance change? I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and ask if there are any discussion or comments on this before I move it. Councilmember Schiff.
Thank you, Councilmember Glidden. I want to move approval of the language that I've handed out in front of you, and there's two different versions online, and so there's been some confusion, and just want to clarify, I'm moving the amendment that is handed out that reads, amendments to the first sentence, a brewer licensed under Minnesota Statute 348, Section 301, Subdivision 6D, I, or J, may be licensed for the sale of off-sale of malt liquor produced and packaged on the licensed premises. Also, amendment under 2, which was discussed and reviewed by the city attorney this morning, also allowing growlers in 64-ounce containers or 750 milliliter bottles, which is just a slightly different way of measuring a similar quantity that is allowed by the state of Minnesota. And I'd like to speak to that. When I first was contacted by Jason Sowards, who's working on his dream of Harriet Brewing, I was pretty amazed to realize that not a single beer is brewed in Minneapolis today. Even Northeast beer, which has been embraced and loved by so many, is surprising to find out is brewed in New Ulm, Minnesota. And currently, when looking at so many other beers that people assume are made in Minneapolis, like Surly, it's interesting to note that they've chosen not to locate in Minneapolis for a reason in the last couple of years as microbrewing has grown. Microbrewing is exploding into a $7 billion a year industry in the United States, and even while sales of most beers are falling in the U.S. today, sales of microbreweries are continuing to grow because people are choosing a different quality of beer, and they're choosing to spend their money locally with a product of a brand that they recognize, perhaps by a microbrewery that's just around the corner. And it speaks a lot to the interest in local that is really affecting food systems in this country right now. And I really appreciate Doug Halverson's history lesson there, and agree completely about the movements that are happening right now and how microbreweries are connected to it. So I can't think of another change we could make that just deletes 7 words from an ordinance and helps create possibly 5 new businesses in Minneapolis in the next year. So I appreciate your support and ask for your approval.
All right, so Councilmember Schiff has moved this ordinance change that also, and you moved the version that also includes this, or in 750 milliliter